And we are live. All right, y'all. Welcome to this week's episode of the Let's Heal podcast. I am Tyrell, and I have two special guests today: financial advisor Lonnie Haynes and international motivational speaker Aric Jackson. And y'all just stay right there. We're gonna be right back. We're gonna have a good show today, so stay right there. All right, y'all, we are back at the Let's Heal podcast. And like I said, I have two wonderful people here with me today. And we're going to talk about money and motivation, something that we all need to be talking about and thinking about. And it definitely aligns with Let's Heal's Mental Health Awareness Month of feel better, do better. You know, if we feel better about motivation and finances, we will do better with our motivation and finances. So without further ado, I want these gentlemen to introduce themselves and give, some snippets. So we will start with Lonnie. Lonnie, tell the people who you are, what you do, where you're from, all of those good things. So introduce yourself.
So Terrell mentioned I'm Haynes. I'm originally from Wisconsin, but I live in Florida. Do you want me to give a full blown out scoop of who I am?
You might as well. Here's your opportunity. Go and talk to everybody and tell everybody who you are.
Okay, so like Terrell mentioned, I'm a financial advisor. I advise and educate individuals on acquiring and managing debt. I offer our services to those whom are in need of credit restoration. I don't repair anyone's credit. Our company, Financial Education Services, does. We have attorneys that do the majority of the legwork. Our protection plan that we offer comes with 12 different services. A few of them are budgeting tool, credit builder, credit attorney, credit monitoring, you name it. So we're not just a credit repair company. We want to make sure that we help you get your finances in order and you stay in good standing. So that's me.
Awesome. So Aric Jackson, tell everybody who you are before we
What's up, beautiful people? Aric Jackson, international speaker and leadership trainer. Been doing it for 16 years now. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do that. But let's see, born and raised outside of Chicago, humble beginnings, and was able to take the things that I learned throughout my childhood to be able to empower myself, especially even today. Uncle of I don't know how many nieces and nephews I got. Love them all, and just excited to be here with you today. So let's go down.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you two here. It's crazy because, like I said, with the shows this month, I was trying to pair people and I was allowing the universe to bring the people together to me. And it brought you two together. And it kind of like when we kind of had our short conference call-ish kind of video chat, and I had a complete meltdown last week. And they let me have my moment, and it was like, you know what? These two are perfect for this segment this week because the meltdown that I had last week, it was about staying motivated, and it dealt with some money that I did not want to spend. So it was perfect. And we will start with we'll go right into it. Start with Lonnie. We're going to talk about, and you said that you work with a company that teaches people, not, they don't take it and fix everything. It teaches people how to, I guess, become more educated and positive about their finances. It's something that we all have to deal with. So tell us more about the company. What kind of got you into it? Where did that come from for you? Because I'm sure you didn't just, hey, this is what I want to do.
Okay, so it's really funny that you asked that because just a few weeks ago, I was home in Wisconsin and I was going through some of my old stuff. And back in 2015, I was with network marketing company, and the network marketing company that I was with dealt with insurance, life insurance. So I was just going through some of my old stuff because my mom just moved to Texas, so I'm going through all this stuff that I had in her storage. And so I'm looking at this paper, and one of the papers is like my fast track paper. So on this paper, I pretty much wrote down all my goals, and I don't even remember writing this. Like this is how weird it was to me. So I was going down the list, and like a lot of the stuff on the list that came to pass. Like the only thing on there that I feel is different right now is me wanting kids. But
Yeah.
I had got down to a point where it has mentioned that I want my own financial education services business.
Okay.
And last year, I worked for corporate America. I worked in finances for over 3 years. Like I mentioned, I worked for corporate America. I worked for a Fortune 500 company. Loved my job. Back in January, 9 of us were called into the office, and we were pretty much told that our department was downsizing. So me being me, I was excited about moving to Florida. So I'm like, okay, so this is my chance to get up and go. So I decided to accept, bowing down in April 2020. And at that moment, I didn't really know what I was going to do. They had offered me a few different positions. I wasn't really hyped up about the positions.
Yeah.
I don't know, I think I got comfortable with my role. Like I mentioned, it was easy. I made good money. Like I was happy.
Yeah.
I wasn't being micromanaged. Like that's like the worst, especially working in America.
Definitely.
So time goes by, and the human resource officer and my direct manager pulled me into the office, and we had a discussion pretty much saying that if I didn't accept one of the offers that they gave to me, then I would just be quitting my job. So in that moment, I was irritated, but I was like, you know what? It is what it is at this point.
Right.
So, I typed up a letter pretty much providing proof that that wasn't discussed in January's meeting. And I talked to human resource. We got that squashed. And on that same exact day, I'm scrolling on Instagram. Like at this point, I'm like, forget this job.
Right.
I wasn't even there mentally. Like,
yeah,
really crazy. I turned on my music. I'm just doing, everything to, stay distracted.
Take your mind.
So I'm scrolling and I run across this ad, and it's my now mentor, Vice President Jay Miller. And so I'm just looking, I'm like, what is she doing? Like, this seems interesting. So I clicked on it, and I don't know if y'all know, but the singer Bernard, he had posted the ad for her. So I'm scrolling through her page, looking at her page. I follow her. I'm not reaching out to her. I'm just follow her,
Right. Just being nosy.
Right. I'm seeing all this amazing stuff that she's doing. I'm like, dang, she like killing it. So I'm looking at all the people that she connected with on their Instagram. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like I'm seeing more of our color,
right.
And so I'm just like, well, if they're doing it, I probably can do it too. But I'm like, I'm not going to step into that right now. So I had closed out of it, and my phone had vibrated. And so I looked at my phone, and it was her reaching out to me. And I'm just like, oh, here we go. And so
she saw you looking at her stuff, or were you on there liking stuff?
I was liking it.
Okay.
When I followed her, that pretty much gave her the go. So
yeah, I was about to say, because if people are able to see you looking at their stuff, I can stop looking at people's pages.
That's normally how it happened too. So I'm responding back to her. I pretty much let her know, she had told me about the opportunity, and she had sent me a video for more information. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna check it out once I get off work. Not even telling her what just happened to me.
Right.
At this point, I'm just like, you know what? I'm about to watch this video. I'm gonna make my decision right now. So I'm just like, God didn't just show me this ad or have me scroll back up to this ad.
Right.
So I had been scrolling down Instagram, and I had already watched the video. I did my own research, and probably 20, 30 minutes after me completing the research that I completed, I was sold. I'm like, okay, I need a change.
Right.
for nobody. Like it's not for me anymore. And I was like, this situation has showed me so much. Like, man, it's just crazy. So I ended up getting started with the company, and the main reason why I got started with the company was because I had went through a credit repair company in the past, and the credit repair company, they did a fantastic job on my credit, right? So they just didn't provide me with the tools to maintain my credit.
Yeah.
So I had a few hiccups in my credit, so I'm just like, I got to fix my credit before I move to Florida, because I'm like, eventually I want to purchase. So I'm like, let me go ahead and get signed up. So within the first month, I seen an increase of 72 months or 72 points. So at that point, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's go time. So I'm able to see these results, and I'm able to somebody else see these results are better. Let's go, like let's get it done. So I with the company, I was able to pay off $4,000 worth of credit card debt in less than 4 months. In 4 months, I was able to achieve 5 promotions within the company. I've been able to help hundreds of families, get prepared for their financial lessons. It's been fantastic. Like I don't know what God I don't know what God was thinking when he placed what he placed in my hands in that moment. Like I'm happy. Like it's genuine. Like my energy's changed, my focus changed, like so much change. And I have to give that back to my now mentors, Ajaya, Mina, Jade, my team. Like everybody's pretty much pushed me to that point where it's like no looking back.
Yeah, well, I like you said, you don't know why. Everything happens for a reason, and the universe and God or whoever everybody is praying to or looking to, it brought it when you needed it. You know what I'm saying? It changed what from what you wanted to what you needed, and it was probably time for a change. And you paid attention, you took the change, and So what was the biggest lesson that you learned while going through that change about your finances? Because like you said, you were able to accomplish all these goals in the first couple months. What was the biggest wake-up call for yourself financially that you had to change or undo? Because, as Black men or in the Black family, we're taught a certain thing, whatever it is, whatever's important with our family and money. Like in my family, I had to unlearn that when I got paid that the money had to go somewhere. Right. I had to unlearn that in order to know what it meant to save so that I can have some, so I can pay for stuff for things to happen because life is going to happen. What was the biggest lesson you had to learn or undo?
Oh, Jesus. I learned so many lessons, but the biggest one I can think of is my budgeting was completely off. Like I had my hands on so much money.
Yeah.
I didn't have any way to go back and be like, okay, this is where this came from. Like that was there. Right. My budgeting was horrible.
Yeah.
And, like budgeting was off. I wasn't paying myself. Like that I learned.
That's a big one.
Mm-hmm. Pay yourself, and I knew that you're supposed. I know that you're supposed to do that, but it just never really stuck. Like I would get started with it, but I wasn't consistent with it. And
or even how to do that. A lot of times we hear it because I remember hearing Oprah say it. 15, 20 years ago. I'm dating myself now, but forget that. She said that a long time ago, and I was like, "Pay yourself." How do you do that? I can't do that. Like I don't know how to even do that with the little bit of money I was making, and I feel like there is no too small amount of money that you pay yourself with. I guess that's where the goals come from. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people feel like when you say pay yourself, I got to be making 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 to pay myself. And that's not true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not. When I first started paying myself, I think I started off at like 10%.
Yeah.
Now it's like 30, 40% of what I make.
Come on, church.
Right, 30 or 40%. I ain't there yet.
Just gotta adjust it. You gotta adjust.
Wow.
And so what would be, I guess, like, okay, so let's say somebody is making, because right now everybody's starting to go back to work, and you see all these jobs that are, and those of you who are watching or will watch, a lot of the jobs who are offering this $18, $16, $17 an hour. Make sure y'all read the fine print in those things, because a lot of the websites are saying that you start off at like $8 or something dollars, and you got to work for a certain number of years before you start making that $18 an hour. And all you see from a marketing standpoint, because that's what companies do, they're in the business of marketing and making money for their company. So they're gonna bring you back to work, and when you get your first check and you realize that 18 went down to 8. So, and some people have to deal with that, because I work with people and I see that they have to go to these jobs where they're making $8, $9, $10, and because they got to feed their families. So what would be a way to start to pay yourself making that kind of money? Because like it's just enough money to make it for a lot of people. And I remember being there, $8, $9, $10.
I would say, and this probably is going to be cliche, I would say find your niche, like find you a side hustle.
Yeah.
Everybody's got some type of talent. You just got to find what it is that you're passionate about. Once you find what you're passionate about, you can write your own checks.
Yeah, and even in finding what you're passionate about and making that extra money, I feel like don't save the money for a splurge.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we all are not really, I think at this point, two things that stand out to me with even like the pandemic that we just went through and we're still kind of going through. We all went through the 9/11 period, where the stock market crashed, and people who were not prepared were, at that point they were committing suicide because they were like, my money is gone, I don't have any way. And now going through the COVID-19 pandemic, people are becoming a little more prepared with their money, some of them. And now it's hard, because being prepared to go back to work without being prepared to not have a job this long in the first place. And now you find people who are making more money on unemployment, because now they just passed that law about the tax credit with the people with kids. I don't have no kids, and right about now I think I need about 6 of them, because I'm like, y'all are never gonna go back to work if you're getting $250 per child extra a month on top of they cut the additional money from unemployment, but don't get stuck on that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It allow yourself to be financially aware, financially conscious of what's coming in and what's going out, And I think about the moratorium that is, people are making more money than they were making when they were working. And then when the moratorium came, they were like, we don't have no money to pay rent. But y'all was making more than y'all were making before when you were working. So where did that money go? Poor money management. Because I know if I'm sitting at home and I'm making all this money, I'm either triple or quadruple this money. I'm gonna be over here making bracelets, doing T-shirts. I ain't gotta waste no gas and go nowhere because I ain't going to work. So, yeah, you said so. Find your niche. What was yours? Because you went through that period where it was like having to make a decision, and it's easier said than done. Like, when you go through that kind of transition, when you go from having a secured paycheck, the first thing we do is we go through the fear, we go through the worry, we go through the stress of where is my next paycheck going to come from? What emotions did you go through, and how did you kind of deal with those? So, and you were about to move to another state. Like, that's scary by itself.
Yeah. So I didn't find my true purpose until last year. So right before I finished working for the company I was working with, that's when I found my true purpose. I've always known that I was put on the earth to help people. I never knew what it was or what capacity it was going to be. But I think me just being exposed to what I've been exposed to, me, doing my research on things. And I think the first thing that really let me know that I had found my purpose, which is, you shouldn't always have monetary thoughts like this, but this is where I knew my purpose was helping people with finances. So over the course of me working with the company that I'm working with, I'm like looking at my checks. I'm like, okay, they're getting bigger. They're getting bigger. Right before I left my job, I got a check through my business that was the size of 2 of my checks.
Right.
Corporate America.
Hello, wake up call.
That's what let me know that, yep, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And a lot of times we need that confirmation, because even now I still find myself with all the stuff that I do with Let's Heal, I still find myself saying, you know what, God, I need some kind of confirmation, because I don't know if I'm still on the right path. And sometimes we need that confirmation. So, paying attention to what's going on around you, being smart about your decisions, being aware of your decisions. That's where you change your thought, when you become aware of your decisions, good and bad. Because a lot of times, if you're making bad decisions, you can't go back and say, well, what happened? You happened. That's what happened to all your money. You happened to it. So,
you know what? Can I throw something in here just real quick? Lonnie, I love what you're saying, and it's all about like finding your niche. And something that you said was like you didn't find your purpose until last year. And here's what I want to say: for those of you who are watching this, your purpose is not always going to come knocking on your front door, and your purpose is not always going to be so easy to discover. Like 30 years ago, I'm dating myself. 30 years ago,
30 years?
You couldn't have told me that I was going to be this international speaker, like speaking all across the globe in Malaysia and all. You couldn't have told. When I was younger, I was like, I want to be like Vera Wang. I want to design wedding dresses. But what happened was, I did theater going in school, so I got very heavily involved in speech. After school, around the time I was in college, I got really heavy into poetry, and then got into poetry slamming, and loved it. And I found this connection with poetry. Like, people loved it. I got excited when people were like, "Oh, yes." I'm like, yes, I'm good. And it was after I went through a relationship 3 years into it. My partner was like, "Oh, you're spending too much time on your poetry." I literally stopped writing poetry, period. Side note, the moment someone tells you to stop doing something that you're passionate about, you don't stop doing the passion, you stop doing them. Like, you just
wait, I'm about to
I'm just look. Because I think to myself, like, for 3 years, we were together 6 years. For 3 of those years, I had silenced something that was fulfilling and nurturing to me.
Yeah.
And even then, I didn't know what my purpose was, but it was after I came out of that situation. And my friend at the time, he was like, "Look, we're entering you into a poetry slam contest." I was like, "No." He's like, "I paid $25. You better show up." And I'm like, "Okay."
Right.
So I get there, and I wrote this cathartic piece called Celebrate, and it was talking about celebrating the good, the bad, and the ugly of who you were. And I was dusty. Like, I was stumbling over words and everything. It was not cute. It was not cute at all. But it was definitely heartfelt. Yeah. After the first round, I didn't make it to the next round. I went to the bathroom. I'm standing in the bathroom at the urinal. I heard someone come in behind me. And you know how you just feel somebody either looking at you or like in your close vicinity? Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, can I please just pee in peace? That's all I want to do. Like, I'll give you my number after. Just let me finish this. Like, let me be done. And so I went to turn around, and this was back in the day when like the Bulls were like 6 championships and all that. So I turned around. He was basically right there, and I tried to like maneuver my way around. He kind of
basketball. Yeah.
And he stopped it. I'm thinking to myself, are we about to fight in this bathroom? But I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And then I looked closer at him. His eyes were like bloodshot red, puffy. And I'm like, dude, what's going on? And he's like choking through his words. And he says to me, thank you. I'm like, okay. And he's like, no, you don't understand. I wouldn't have lived to see tomorrow if I didn't hear your words today. And I just remember that moment hitting so hard. And I'm like, it wasn't that I was left with, ooh, I know my purpose is to do poetry. That wasn't it in that moment. But it was something about that moment, again, Tyrell, like you were saying earlier, when you become aware, it was something about that moment that said, this is what happens when you know the power of using your words. And I just remember thinking, now, Knucklehead did nothing with that. I went home, I cried, I had a moment, wrote my journal. I was like, thank you guys. Then the next day I was back at church. But some years, like a couple of years after that, I volunteered for an amazing organization that I still volunteer with to this day. They're the organization that literally gave me my first chance to speak on stage. But for 2 years, I was a coach, a student leadership coach, and worked with them. It was amazing. But every time the speakers got up on stage, it would just like the hair on the back of my neck would raise up. I'm like, okay. And 1 year, the opening keynote speaker, he was so boring. I literally wanted to jump up on that stage and snatch the mic out his hand. Because I'm thinking, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I am with these kids till 10 o'clock tonight. This is their first interaction of the conference. And I'm like, man, you about to have them pissed off at me?
Right.
Like, they're going to be like, I want to go home. Like, and it's not even 9 o'clock. And he was horrible. But then the closing keynote speaker, I'll never forget, his name was Maui Askedon. He was an Ethiopian refugee. Speaking of Oprah had a book club back in the day, and like his book had made it to the book club. He got on the stage, and just how he told his story and everything of a 45-minute speech, I think I cried for like 30 minutes. Because as he was speaking, it was like I just felt something tapping me on my shoulder saying, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Right.
It's for you. It's for you.
And so I want to encourage anybody who's like, I don't know what my passion is. I don't see it. It ain't on my front door. It's, you know what? What does it say? Seek and you shall find. Never give up. There's going to be these coincidences or these synchronicities that happen in your life that really stick out to you. And you want to start to pay attention to that, because for all you know, that could be the next step in your map to get to your treasure in your life. So for those of you who are not sure about what your purpose is, you know, invest in it. And when I say invest in it, keep looking, keep searching. Ask yourself, if I had all the money in the world, if I had everything, all my bills were paid, beautiful house, beautiful boo, we traveled all the time, everything was handled, what would be the one thing I can wake up to every morning and still do without getting paid just to do it? That starts to shine a light on what that is. So I just want to throw that out there, and I'm going to tell you.
But I guess that's the perfect segue into your part of the podcast. So just hold on, y'all. Stay right there. We're going to be right back because I need to. All right.
That's so pretty.
You say who? What?
That was so pretty.
That's my breather moment right there. I needed a breather because you took me all the way to church, and I haven't been in church in about 15 years. So, if y'all are just joining the podcast, that was Aric Jackson, who is here to motivate us. And if he did not motivate you in the last 10 minutes, he about to do a little more.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, you know, so, geez. You said you've been doing this for a long time. It definitely shows. So take us all the way back to the beginning so we can understand who you are, what you do, and why you're so good at what you do. Because, you know, them couple minutes right there, I'm over here taking notes like, be who you want to be.
Well, actually, it's funny because, like, going back to that moment, that conference, so that was in 2004 when I saw Maui Askedon speak. And part 2 of finding your purpose in your niche, the moment it shows up at your door, don't treat it like a door-to-door salesperson and be like, oh no, that's not what you.
Right.
No, because truth of the matter is sometimes we'll know what our purpose is, but because we know that it is going to require a different version of us to be that purpose, we'll all of a sudden get sudden amnesia. Oh, well, my purpose, what are you talking about? So that same weekend, after the speaker was done, I walked up to him, and I have like 2 moments in my life where I have really fangirled out on somebody. This was one time, and another time is when I met India Ari in Atlanta, and I almost couldn't like talk. I was like,
oh my God.
I walked up to him after the speech, and I said, look, I don't know you like that. You don't know me like that, but I think I want to do what you do.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, he said, really? I said, yeah. He said, all right, I'm gonna give you the address to my office. Be there Friday, 2:00 p.m. I'll see you there. I'm like, okay.
Right.
So, and this was at the time when I was working in Chicago on Michigan Avenue. And he was like, maybe about like a 10-15 minute walk. So I'd scheduled things at the office to get over there, and I showed up. It's 1:59, and I'm like, "Hey,
I'm here."
He opened the door, and he was shocked almost.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I was like, "Yeah, we were meeting for 2:00," and he's like, "Yeah, come on in." And I'm thinking to myself,
"Were you not expecting me?"
Like,
right?
What is
you
this?
You told me to be here, right? You told me.
Right. I'm looking around corners like, is somebody gonna jump out?
Right.
But we get there, and he's kind of chuckling, and I'm like, what? He says, you know what? I'm impressed. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you don't know how many people have come up to me and said they want to do what I do, and I've given them the exact same invitation, and I've never heard from them again. And he said, and the fact that you showed up, I got you.
Yeah.
Side note, some of y'all just need to show up.
Yeah.
You ain't got to show up perfect. You ain't got to have it all together. You ain't got to look a particular way. Just show up.
And your purpose is not going to be blatantly obvious. Like, it's not going to come and knock you upside your head and say, I'm what you're supposed to be doing on earth. It's not going to happen. Not like that. At all. Because a lot of things you go through are preparing you for what you're supposed to be doing. If you are willing to accept and embrace the lesson that you're learning. That's true. Because a lot of people doing stuff that they should not be doing. You know what? Keep going. You want me to be free-handing an organ up in here in a second. I'm just saying. But here's what ended up happening. We went in, and he literally pulled out a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper out of his printer. He laid it down in front of me. He wrote my name in the center of it, put a circle around it. He said, so you want to do what I do. You want to be a speaker. In like 30 minutes, this man, New York Times bestselling author, come to find out, mapped out my whole career on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Hang on. I got one right here. Yeah. So look, you ready? I'm ready. Yeah. He said, this is you. First thing you're going to need to do is connect with schools, since you like working with kids. That's going to be your first step. The next thing you're going to, and he literally said, you're going to need to write a book, which ended up being my first book, 5 Things Your Guidance Counselor Didn't Tell You. And then he's like, you also need to create a t-shirt. Like, he just laid it out. Yeah. And to this day, I still have that 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. That was back in 2004. And in 2005, I gave my very first keynote speech, which was called Don't Be Scared. That speech is so old. As a matter of fact, on my Instagram, I think I'm going to post it because I still had hair. Like, that's how old that speech was. Like, I think I saw that before. I saw that and I was like, hold on. I had to turn the screen upside down because I didn't really believe it was you.
Now you got to post it. You got to repost it, Aric.
Yeah. So,
is it on YouTube too? It is. Okay. It is. It's a lot of bad footage on YouTube. I'm just gonna say that. But that's usually the best footage because it shows that you are not perfect. And I think that's another thing that when it comes to motivation and motivating people and understanding their purpose is you do not have to show, like you said, you don't have to show up perfect. Like none of us are perfect. So when you go and you try to be, I mean, we are already our worst critic. So we're always critiquing how we talk and how we did this and how we did that instead of just allowing yourself to be yourself, because people who are really paying attention, they see authenticity.
They see authenticity. They see that you did it, because if you're sitting here trying to perfect something and you haven't even put it out yet, no one's going to see it.
Exactly.
And perfect is overrated. As a matter of fact, my very first television appearance was booked off of a janky YouTube video. And literally, as I got to know the founder of that organization, he's like, I looked at your video and I was like, this is bad lighting, bad stage. The stage was black. You had on black. I could barely see you. And I was just like, this is super, super like bootleg. And he said, but when you started speaking, I was like, wow, you know, so yeah, like when it comes to your purpose, let me also say this, and I'm going to kind of tie this into what Lonnie said earlier. I know there's a lot of people out here, when we look at our purpose, and we want to live a life of purpose. There is a financial piece to it. And I'm going to say that there's two financial pieces. And please, Lonnie, please jump in at any point in time. There's that moment when you realize that you have a purpose and you want to go after it, but you almost feel, let me talk about me. I almost felt undeserving or unworthy of it. And because I felt undeserving, unworthy of it, my finances were stifled. I was struggling. Literally my first year speaking while I was living in Atlanta, I don't know if I ever shared this with you, Tyrell. There came a point in time in my career where I left the corporate job and I was trying to make this speaking thing work. And literally when someone knocked on my front door, I was running out the back door because I was afraid it was the sheriff's office getting ready to come evict me, because I was like 3 months behind on rent.
Wow.
Like behind, bills hadn't been paid. I literally ran a power cord from my apartment to my neighbor's apartment just so I could stay on my laptop and just reaching out to people and this and the other. And, you know, thank God things shifted. And when they shifted, it shifted in a huge way. Like literally my first speaking engagement was a 5-figure contract. Like literally. And she's like, oh, I can put 50% deposit in the, in FedEx. I'll get it to you tomorrow. I'm like, you don't have to go through the trouble, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Because I'm like, oh, I can pay rent and I can get some Popeye's chicken. I was just excited about life. But my first 5 years, y'all, just real talk, because there was that unworthiness, that undeserving, who am I to do this? Little did I know that had a huge impact on how I was billing for myself, the contracts that I was taking. There was a point in time when I was like, oh, you only have $500 and some hot dogs to give me? That's so awesome. I mean, my plane ticket cost $700, but so that's that one side of it. And then the second side of it is when you really get that, and again, I'm just going to speak for me, like we all have different beliefs, but my belief is when I got clear that this is what I was put on this earth to do, to live, breathe, be it, and own it, my rates went up. I've literally had clients tell me, because I was like, hey, I understand things might be tight. This is my fee. And they're like, all right, that's not enough. Like, how about we do this? Right. So it was like really owning that within myself. And when you get to that point, I say everyone calls me a motivational speaker, and I've been trying to find another word for it, because at some point it's just like motivation is temporary. Commitment is where you're in the game. Like you could be motivated to make money, but the moment that 2 weeks go by and you don't make that money, you're gonna be like, all right, let me switch into something else. But when you're committed, you're like, all right, 2 weeks went by. Y'all, I went 3 months without being paid anything. And I was committed.
It takes a lot of commitment.
The universe recognizes that, and you're paid accordingly. Your payment is not just in finances. Your payment is in acceptance of self. Your payment is feeling that you're worthy. Your payment is you deserve it. Your payment is healing from those things and those that people said to you years ago. They said you would never be this, you would never have that. That is what you're paid in.
Right.
So yeah.
I guess the payment also, like you said, it's self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
The more you become aware of yourself and what you possess and what you can do, it helps you understand your purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like it understands that, like, I am Tyrell. I am the only Tyrell L. Starks, born at 7:09 a.m. on a Friday on December 18th, 1981. The only one. There may be people who do things, and that's why, you know, the whole saying that there is enough for everybody to have some doing what everybody's doing. So, you know, not everybody's going to be Tyrell. You know, and I think about when I was an aerobics instructor. There are millions of aerobics instructors in the world, but there's only one Tyrell. And like you said, it took me a while. I was like, I ain't as good as, and then I got to that point where I was like, I am the Tyrell Starks. So, and now y'all can't tell me no different. I walk around like, you said who? When you speak about me, make sure you pronounce and spell my name correctly so that I get credit for my work, good and bad. I'm not perfect. And if you thought I was, that's your business.
Hey, Lonnie, can I ask you a question real quick? And this is just, you know, because I know I can speak of myself. When you're working with people and I hear you know, first of all, I think it's amazing, like, you working with hundreds of families. I love when people talk about family and community because, you know, one person affects the people that they're around. But do you have people who come to you and they're in that mindset of, I don't know, this is how it's always been? Have you ever?
Yep.
Often. And what is And what is the coaching that you offer? Like,
so I guess it just all depends on how far I think this person is. So if they're like far out left to the point where I feel like it's going to be really complicated to help them shift their mindset, I just give up. I'll tell people like, you know what, I don't want to feel like I'm, you know, a disservice to you. So I'm going to recommend you read this book, or you listen to this audio book, or you watch this movie to kind of help you see things deeper, like to open up your mind. Because I don't like dealing with closed-minded people. Yeah. I don't have time. I don't get paid to deal with closed-minded people.
Right.
Just saying.
All of your mindset, like you were saying, your mindset, I can't remember what C word you said, but pretty much consistency.
Yeah.
Stay consistent no matter what, whether it's good or bad. Like, you're going to have some days where you just like, is this really for me? You're going to have days where it's just like, dang, I really waited for it. But if you didn't wait for it and you don't continue working with it and you're not consistent, it's not going to ever happen.
Right. It's like getting out of your own way. And I think I referenced that book before on another podcast episode. I read Tyrese. I'm not sure if anybody knew that he had wrote that book. It's called How to Get Out of Your Own Way. And I didn't realize that I was in my own way. You know what I'm saying? Like, people will get in their own way because like I said before, people are raised a certain way. And when you're raised a certain way to think about money or even motivation, that, you know, that is connected to you. You know, it's up. You have to go in and completely strip everything down, like your way of thinking, strip it down to the foundation and rebuild. But you got to be willing to do that. And a lot of doing that.
Say that part one more time. Say it again. You got to be what?
You have to be willing to do that.
For the people in the back, can you say that again, Tyrell?
You have to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
And because, I mean, it's a scary place to go in and undo what grandma told you how to do. Or undo what mom showed you how to do, mom or dad, whatever the case may be. And it's not to say that the way that they taught you or showed you is wrong, especially when it comes to finance, because I mean, the times are different. So taking care of your family then and taking care of your family now is different. It's supposed to be different. Nothing is constant but change. And if you're not changing with it, the stuff around you will definitely change and it will leave you behind.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you got to provide value.
Yeah.
Tell your story. It's just
Yeah.
gonna sell you. Like
and understand the lessons in your story, because like I said before, everything happens for a reason. And if you went through a point where, let's say that you got fired from a job and you didn't have a nest egg, so you had to take one of those jobs because you had to survive, you have to remember what that felt like, what you mentally thought about, so that you don't, if you okay with being stuck there, you're gonna be back there often. But if you don't want to be back there, you're going to remember what it felt like and how down you were on yourself. Because the thing about emotions is that you have all kinds of ups and downs when it comes to your emotions. And when you go through life, that can change. For some people, it changes several times a day. And certain things, like when you have financial security and then it's snatched away from you, that wake-up call is like, okay, I don't like how this feels. How do I not go back here? That takes planning. You know what I'm saying? And you're never going to be back there if you plan it correctly and you're aware of it, that it will happen. I think a lot of people lose the focus of, I've been there, I've done that, it won't never happen again. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Let me say this. Let me say a couple of things, because now y'all got me wanting to say this. All right. Let me go ahead and say this now. Stop thinking you're going to read a book one time, and close it and sit it down, and don't implement anything within that book, and think that, well, I read deep work, my life is gonna change, sweetie. No, it's not. Let me say this. I'm gonna say this, and how can I say this in a way where somebody don't send you like a nasty letter? Like,
this is Let's Hear. We are all about transparency and realness. Okay. Everybody know Tyrell always got time.
Let me go ahead and say this. For those of you who think that you reading a book in a week is going to undo 10, 20, 30 years of programming, it's not going to happen. And for those of you who think that investing, like, look, invest in yourself. When I say invest in yourself, you can go get that Gucci, Prada, all that beautiful stuff, but you can put the lipstick on pig and call it beautiful and wonderful. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to do the work. Let me say this again: do the work. Like, literally, I am single. I am dating right now, and let me tell you what's sexy. You might have big legs and all that good stuff. I might love it, but what's sexy to me is the healing and the work that you've done. Like the fact that you've done that, and it doesn't happen overnight. Give yourself some grace. You've had these beliefs, these thoughts, these attitudes for 90% of your life. And like you say, Tyrell, you have to be willing to undo that. Look, there's something I call the results triangle, and what you do, like at the top of the pinnacle of the results triangle, just put thoughts / who you're being, like how you're acting, thoughts, attitude. The next step in a triangle are the actions. So your thoughts or how you're being or your attitude around something is going to fuel the actions that you take. And then once you do those actions are then going to go to the other part of the triangle and fuel the results that you've gotten. So let's take this. My thoughts are, why should I invest money in a life coach like Tyrell when I could pick up a $30 book and change my life on my own? So those are my thoughts. I'm going to go ahead and do the actions. My actions are going to be half-assed because really I'm not giving it all that I know that I need to give because I'm still trying to play it safe. And then my results are mediocre at best. And then I take the thoughts from that result and fuel my thoughts all over again. Second time around. Well, I know I probably should invest in Tyrell, but I don't know. Maybe I should invest in something, but I don't. Let me read it. Let me read 3 books this time. And let me go ahead and try to go do these actions. And I do these actions, and then my results are less than what I had before. So you put yourself in this vicious cycle until you say, you know what? How about I get uncomfortable? Get out my comfort zone, do something I've never done before. Maybe I reach out to Lonnie. I've been trying to write a budget. I still can't get past spelling rent. So
Right.
let me reach out to Lonnie and see how I can do this. And then
Right.
you get the coaching with Lonnie or the coaching with Tyrell. And then that starts to fuel your actions, because what I know of these gentlemen on these calls, they are not going to play patty cake with you. And then look, Lonnie already told you, if you ain't got the mindset, honey, go keep your money. I'm not about to deal with you.
Right. Right.
So I just really want to say, like, especially within our community, like, it is important to realize that investing in yourself, the dividends will pay for years and years to come. And that investment it's uncomfortable. This past weekend, I went on a men's retreat. If you know anything about Aric Jackson and Woods do not get along. I've never been camping, but and mind you, I was surrounded by a group of alpha males, and I'm like, if one of y'all say one wrong thing to me, I swear I'm gonna punch somebody in the face.
Oh gosh, don't go to jail on the retreat.
But here's the thing: people are like, well, if you don't like it, why did you do it? Why did you spend like close to $2,000 just to go spend some money, spend some time in a canyon? Let me tell you something. Growth does not happen inside your comfort zone.
Never.
Growth happens outside of it. And I know that sounds so dang on cliche, but I've been through a lot of emotional intelligence training, social emotional learning. And I'm like, what is there that I can do that's going to pull me so far out my comfort zone that I'm going to have no other choice but to learn something? And I got there this weekend, and let me tell you, it was one of the most empowering retreats that I've done. I got in those 4 days why, instead of me putting myself out there to be powerful and having everybody see, I used to hide myself. I would go on the road and kind of close in until I was spoken to. But I learned this weekend why it was. But that was because I made the investment. That is going to last for my life. That's going to last for my career. That's going to last for my partnership when I have that. Like, it's going to make that huge of a difference. So stop thinking you're going to read a book.
Yeah, it's. I mean, even if you do read a book, you only take pieces, and you got to change with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the book, you read a book and it was written a certain way. Like a sentence is written a certain way. And anybody who knows anything about the English language, which should be everybody, y'all know that one word, the inflection of one word, can change the whole definition of that sentence. So if y'all are trying to change your life, you take whatever word is important to you, apply it to your life, and keep moving to the next sentence, because your life is not going to be, it's not going to be mapped out. And I always, when I do have my coaching clients, I always tell them to think about their life as, because you know, like the Christian people love to say, your body is your temple. And I say, okay, well, let's go with the temple. You are this house, and we have to think about that. Houses are built on foundation. Foundation is the mixture of concrete and water that your family instilled in you. Those are the values. Those are the things like that. And then they help you build this house. This house is not going to stay the same for the duration of your life, which means that you are going to have to change some shutters about yourself. You're going to have to change some curtains. You have to paint this house every now and again. You have to change the door. And guess what? As you get older and that foundation that was instilled in you starts to crack, you got to repair that foundation. Because sometimes I did a podcast before. Is that baggage even yours? Because a lot of times people got baggage in their foundation that's not theirs. So it's time for you to go chip that piece off, take that back to your mama or your daddy, and repair that in order to be able to live in this stable house, this pretty stable house on this magnificent block where your house stand out and I don't look like everybody else, because you are a different person. So why do I let you take me here right now? Damn it.
Oh, look, the truth is the truth. TRUF, the truth. But I'm going to say one thing and then I'm going to try to shut up. You know, you said like, Lonnie, stop laughing at me. Lonnie is like, yeah, right, whatever. You said like changing, you didn't say renovate everything all at the same time.
No.
Take one step. And for those of you who underestimate the power of one action, I'm going to give you 2 words. Rosa Parks. Martin Luther King Jr. And like one of my mentees who I've known for years, his name is Austin, and he wrote this poem and he said this, and it was just this blaring, it was like this moment. He said, you know, Dr. King was the leader of the civil rights movement, and he did a lot of work and he was taking a lot of action, but it was Rosa Parks that sparked the revolution, all because she took one action.
Yeah.
Didn't give up her seat. So for those of you all who think that one action is not good enough, trust me, take that one action and you wear it out until you become a master at it. And stop trying to be a jack of all trades, y'all, and a master of none. Like, really. I mean,
master of none, and yeah. I mean, but and that one thing could be the thing that changes your life. Mm-hmm. And it's usually the thing that, like you said before, takes you outside of your comfort zone, because we all knew that back then when Rosa Parks gave up her seat that it was known that everybody had to do this. Mm-hmm. She decided not to do it. It was out of her comfort zone. She knew it came with consequences, but guess what? She did it anyway. Mm-hmm. She didn't know what the consequences were, because nothing is guaranteed but change. Nothing is constant but change. Mm-hmm. So if you want change in your life, you have to come outside of that comfort zone. I spoke that to several people already. I'm like, you're comfortable. There's nothing wrong with being a semi-routine-ish kind of person, but we need to shake this up a bit. And then when when you get with people who, I guess in the motivation, surround yourself with people who are going to tell you the truth. Mm. And I say that now because there's a lot of, I can't even just say millennials, because I know some people who are my age and even older who surround themselves with people who are like an amen choir. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you wonder why your life is in shambles, because everybody around you are your yes men. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Surround yourself with some people who tell you, get your money together, get your mind together. You are the negative Nancy in this group, and we about to disinvite you from this situation.
So, you're not getting the next invitation.
You can't help it. I don't know. You said, yeah, we went on vacation without your negative ass.
You can't sit with us.
Right. A whole real life episode of Mean Girls. But
it's so much power in having people around you who are more interested in your commitment to yourself versus making you feel good.
Yeah.
I have over the last, I'd say 10 years, I've been very intentional about who I allow to be in my presence and who I don't. Now that might sound—
Wait, hold on. I don't mean to cut you off. You have been very because I'm always talking about that. Very intentional.
Yeah.
People need to start wake up with intention. Mm-hmm.
Stop thinking that everything is going to happen just because. No, you got to put some work in it. You got to be intentional. There was a point in time in my life where I just realized the people that I was around, things were very toxic. I was shifting and changing myself just to make them comfortable. And I'm like, you know what, this I will be the one, they go home laughing, kikiing and all that fun stuff, and I'd be at home with a headache because I was just somebody who I am typically not. But when you're intentional, look, Power of Intention, Dr. Wayne Watt, read it. Like being that, oh, did I freeze? Being that person who just literally, you're like, okay, child. Oh Lord Jesus! You know what? I am so sorry to the people. I'm gonna mute myself. Chat. Wait. Oh, stop. Okay, we good. Y'all can't hear no phone anymore. Child, people stop calling me.
Look at him. He done talked about somebody.
I'm on live.
Right. They see you on live. And you done talked them up. Look at that.
And that's why I'm not picking up the phone. That's the read. How about that? So here's the thing. When you're intentional about the people you surround yourself with. So one of my really good friends, her name is Jacqueline, and I have something called a leadership legacy that I live. And my leadership legacy statement is, I, Aric Jackson, am a life-changing leader, and I will transform lives through leadership. That's how I live. That's a contract to myself. I tell the people who are important to me that contract. So one day I'm just in the funk. I had a client who said the check was in the mail 3 months ago. It never showed up. I was like, and I was like, I'm just done. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm sick of it. I'm over it. I'm just going to go back to a 9-to-5 corporate, get my guaranteed check. And she's listening and she's taking it all in. And I'm like, I'm just over it. And she was like, sounds like a life-changing leader to me.
Right.
Baby, when I tell you, I wanted to hang up that phone so quick, but in the moment I hung up was the moment I thanked her.
Yeah.
I said, thank you for reminding me of what it was. Just this past weekend, the men's retreat I went on, one of my good friends, we went on it. He was in it, and we ended up in the same group. And there was a question that was asked in the group around an exercise that we did. And the question was, would you follow me? I turned to him and I said, would you follow me? He was like, nah, I wouldn't follow you. Really? But I appreciated him because we then had a further conversation, and he was like, look, I know how you show up outside of this. He said, but we're talking about this moment right now, and I'm not getting ready to sell you out just to make you feel good for a few moments, for me to lie to you and say I will follow you when I know damn well I wouldn't.
Right. So
yes, men, yes, men, yes, women, yes, people.
Even about your finances, like everybody, they being flued out right now on the government. That's temporary, y'all. Anyway.
Ooh, Lonnie just took a deep breath. You okay over there, Lonnie?
Oh my God! What she say? Look at my mama. She said, "Y'all is too much this evening." We try not to show out too much, but every now and again, the people need to hear what we got going on over here, because
and everybody can't afford what you're putting out there. Yeah, be too much. You don't want everybody getting what you got.
Always.
How about that?
The Tyrell Starks. But anyway, before we leave, because this hour went by quick today, y'all. I want everybody to go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you at in your social media, things like that. Just in case people want to reach out to you, Lonnie for financial and you, Aric, for motivation, to grow the network. Go ahead, Lonnie. I'll let you go first.
So you can find me on Instagram. That's Lonnie P. Haynes. And then you can also find me on Facebook, Lonnie Paul Haynes.
All right.
For me on Instagram is at I am Aric Jackson. That is where I do a lot of my stuff. I know I have a Facebook fan page, and my social media person is probably going to cuss me out after this because I totally forgot what it was. Just look up *RIC Jackson. You'll see it. And then
I think it's AJ Jackson, I believe. Is that it?
It is AJ Jackson.
Yeah, I know, because I kept sending you messages to the wrong page.
No. See, that's a shame. Somebody else remember your own stuff.
Well, I mean, I can't invite you on the show if I don't know who you are, where you at, and where people can find you at now. So that would be me dropping the ball on my own show. Now, come on. But anyway, y'all, it's been real. I have enjoyed this conversation like I always enjoy my conversations on my podcast. And I look forward to everybody tuning in to the next Let's Heal podcast. Until next time, please remember to drink your water and mind your own bald-headed business. This has been Tyrell, and this is the Let's Heal podcast. Y'all stay right there. Everybody else, I will see y'all later. Goodbye.
Have a good night.
Y'all stay right there.